It's the Andy Thompson Show on ESPN 97.7. It's the Andy Thompson Show.
Hey, buddy. Welcome back. Thanks for being with us. Time for the Mike Esplin Coaches Show, Snow Canyon High School, brought to you by Flynn Companies, flynncompanies.com, a big booster of Southern Utah and Southern Utah sports. How's it going, Coach?
Doing well. How are you, Andy?
Well, I'm doing good, but I can't imagine how fun this past Friday night was for you guys. For the listeners, 47-10, Snow Canyon gets the win on the road against Centennial. Joel Mack throws 5 touchdowns. Tell us about how that game all went down, Coach.
You know, I think it does feel good, especially when you play a really tough preseason schedule, and then that's your last preseason game before you open region. It feels good to have some things come together and get some bounces go your way and realize, you know, if we put this all together, we have something pretty special. I mean, we just played loose, but still tough, and it was a nice night.
You guys got Cedar this Friday up at Cedar. But before we talk about that, let's dig more into this game. So Joe Mack, 18 of 30, 317 yards, 5 touchdowns. JT Westbrook and Cale Johnson. The thing that struck me, Coach, was like 10 guys had catches. Now, part of that is probably you're up by a lot, but I guess talk about Joe Mack spreading the ball around and a bunch of guys contributing through the air.
I think number one is we have a lot more than 1 or 2 athletes that can go catch the ball. And then probably the harder thing is if a quarterback has time to look past read 1 or read 2 even and get it to somebody else. So that has a lot to do with the offensive line. I think they're coming along. They've had to kind of go through some injuries, some hard things. But did a good job, gave Joe Mack time, and then the athletes did what we know they can do.
And then defensively, only giving up 10 points. Max Reynolds had another great game, 11 tackles, which led the team. Hank West had a couple TFLs. Obviously, on paper, looks like a great effort from the Warriors defensively as well.
It was a great effort. The touchdown that they scored, we had 2 guys within probably 6 inches of a joint tackle. So that's kind of hard to shake off. But, yeah, it was a good effort. We're able to do a lot of different things because we have athletes even at the defensive line. Talk about Hank and some of those guys. They can run. They're not just big and taking up space. They can run. And I think we have a system that fits them pretty well.
Usually when Cedar and Snow Canyon play each other, Coach, it's Snow Canyon usually has a great defense. Cedar usually likes to run the ball. This year they're winging it around a lot more, at least more than the last couple years, kind of successfully. Wow. And, you know, you guys are coming off a game throwing the ball a lot. What kind of game do you think this will be on Friday?
I mean, I think Cedar still has roots. I was born in Cedar, actually. My dad played at Cedar High. I think they still have roots that are very, roughneck, tough team in that town, in that high school. But they've got 2 college coaches now coming down to the high school level. Translation is the hardest thing, in my opinion, as far as watching college coaches come down to the high school level. But they do some things that are tough and things we've had to watch a lot of film on. I think it will still come down to attitude and effort, but I think there's a lot of schemes that will be fun to watch.
Yeah, I've been impressed with obviously Crew Giles has had a great year. That Overson kid and Everett Kelling wearing number 41 back there, winging the ball around. That game is up in Cedar. It'll be on 890 KDXU on the radio down here in Southern Utah. Let's talk a little bit about the run game, Coach. Max Reynolds led you guys 9 carries, 45 yards, 5 yards a pop. Cale Johnson had 5 yards a pop running the ball, as well as Brody Lounsbury. I guess clue us in going into your first region game about what the running game's looking like.
I mean, the good thing is we have multiple kids that can play that position. It's nice to have Brody where he's not, starting every down on defense as fresh legs. And he's a little bit different running style. But it's good to have a committee now at running back in football, I think, at every level. I think that we have to be able to establish, just like we do on defense, we have to be able to establish that we can control the line of scrimmage. But when you have a lot of speed and you have an offensive line that can protect and a quarterback that can get the ball out, I mean, you use that when you can, and that's kind of what happened last Friday is we saw holes in the pass defense and took advantage.
I've been impressed this year watching Joe Mack, first-year varsity starter, with his ability to connect on the deep ball, which I know the last few quarterbacks since I've been here, Snow Canyon has usually got a kid that can connect on 50-yard-plus passes and stuff like that. But Joe Mack, first-year starting, what surprised you so far about his game or about his resiliency or anything like that? Like you say, going through a tough pre-region schedule where it was like, oh man, we feel like we should be winning some of these games. We're right there with these teams, and then you let it all out in your last region and everything kind of clicks. What's your evaluation of Joe Mack to this point in the season, Coach?
I believed in him the whole time, and that was kind of the vision this last game. The hard part is you play a tough region schedule. It's a mental game as much as physical. And that position at quarterback, if you're not mentally strong and you don't win, regardless of the competition that you're playing with, do you have confidence? Do you feel like we're getting better as a team? Do you feel like you're getting better as a quarterback? I feel like that those answers were yes, thank goodness.
Yeah,
because sometimes that's hard to preach when you're 0-3. But I feel like team-wise, and maybe Joe Mack kind of leading that, Max Reynolds, some of those writer ends, some of those seniors leading that, was, are we getting better? And the answer was yes. Okay, then let's keep working and let's see what we can do.
Well, and that was one of the things before the season I know that you talked a lot about was the impressiveness of Joe Mack, first-year starter, but being a natural leader and getting the guys together and being positive and all that stuff. And it looks like that's paying off for the program right now. Okay, so we've got Snow Canyon up at Cedar this Friday night. You can listen on our sister station, 92.5 FM, 890 AM. KDXU. Coach, thank you so much for your time, as always, every week on the Snow Canyon Coaches Show, and good luck on Friday.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Andy.
Quick break. Back with more right after this.